The State Assembly held a hearing today on services and support for people with developmental disabilities.
Yes, Jason.
And experts who testified outlined some of their biggest concerns. That ranges from access to quality preschool programs for kids to what to do about adults who are currently being cared for by aging parents. And also, there are, of course, financial concerns for individuals with disabilities and the workers who help them. Here to go over some of the issues are NYSARC President Laura Kennedy. She spoke at today's hearing, and NYSARC Executive Director Steve Krull. They are back. Thank you so much for being back here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So, Laura, we'll start with you. I mean, the issues are many. I mean, I could have probably taken up our entire time by just listing all of them. The Assembly is having this hearing, the majority does this on each area of the budget, sort of to do like a checkup to see how things are going. This is happening as the executive is putting together his budget, and so what you're hoping is that somebody is listening and that you're influencing the process. So what are your, let's just say, top 3 issues as we head into this budget season?
Well, as we look during the past year, there has been little movement in terms of residential development for those living at home with aging caregivers and just living at home. That has not moved as we had hoped. Also wage parity for our direct support professionals who do so much with so much training in terms of a minimum wage, and also if we have that parity, that we have the funding to pay those wages, which they certainly deserve.
So we just had this conversation within the last week or so. I mean, the federal government has changed the overtime requirements, and Medicaid reimbursement rates have not, at the state level at any rate, kept up with that change. So is that also a concern for your sector?
Well, it could be, but right now the level of parity in terms of the minimum wage for direct support professionals is key. Overtime will be another factor if we don't have the significant enough of staff to work on a regular shift at the house.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what we're looking at right now is the fast food minimum wage increase is now a reality, and we're on a pathway where fast food workers over either a 3 or 6 year glide path will go to $15 an hour. We begin our entry-level direct support professionals between $9.50 an hour and $11 an hour. And so these are people that are actually charged with the responsibility for the direct care of other people, helping them with their activities of daily living, teaching them, helping them to be safe, and they have to receive an extremely large amount of training. And we're going to see ourselves become non-competitive in the marketplace very quickly because we can't give the same wage increases. We're almost 100% funded by Medicaid.
Right.
So it is not that we have someplace else to shift the cost of those wage increases, and we're all not-for-profit organizations, so we don't have a margin to use to fund these. We're looking at right now, we already have 11% vacancy rate within NYSARC, which is 48 chapters throughout New York State, and we have...
And that's pretty standard, 11%?
Pretty standard. So that means that right now we're operating on 9 out of 10 of the people we need to provide support for the 60,000 people. We have about 2,000 vacancies that we're trying to fill. And our turnover rate for entry-level staff is relatively high because these are very challenging and demanding jobs.
So what you require, though, I mean, you can't give a raise, I mean, I'm sure that you would like to, everybody would like to, until the state changes the reimbursement. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, okay. So that would be something that the executive would do in his budget proposal?
Yes.
And the problem also is that the executive, I mean, this administration is moving all of Medicaid to managed care, if I'm not mistaken, and they're really interested in Medicaid reform and keeping Medicaid costs down. So have you gotten any indication at this point from the administration if they are hearing this concern? I mean, you're certainly not the first people to express it.
Well, we're partners with them on moving towards managed care, and we look forward to developing those programs, but they're still a few years off, even if under the most optimistic circumstances all the pieces come together right now. And so what we're really looking at as part of this hearing is what's happening today. Today, the fast food minimum wage will take its first jump on December 31st, 2015, the second jump on December 31st, 2016. For us to give our employees of NYSARC parity would be almost $140 million increase in funding. That would be a combination of federal and state monies, but obviously in this environment that kind of funding doesn't come easy.
So Laura, you mentioned a lack of movement on the residency question. I mean, now we have had conversations before around this table with yourselves and with various different combinations of folks who are involved in this community about positive movement by the Cuomo administration and at least promises that are being made regarding caregiver respite, for example, or programs that will be developed to figure out a way to move aging population members into some kind of long-term care that is amenable to them. You're saying that the promises at this point are just promises.
The movement is not as the need demands. We have 400 individuals that are currently in institutional settings that they would like to move into the community and leave 150 with that greater support. They're not taking people off their regular waiting list. In fact, right as we speak, they're determining who is and who is not on that waiting list. Those on the waiting list we estimate to be in the thousands. And we would like to see some movement in this budget to support some development for those who are in severe crisis as we speak.
And you've also got some promises of reports and proposals that are coming, but they're going to be coming after the executive budget is proposed in January.
Right. In February, there's going to be a report coming out by OPWDD, which is reaching out to all 11,000 people on the residential request list, which is the compilation of people who've requested residential supports over the years. And they're trying to determine how many of them need it now, how many are in dire circumstances.
Well, some of them have been on there for years.
And many of them have been on it. Some of the people that have testified today before the Assembly have been on it for years. One of the reasons we think this is a good time for us to be here and talking about this is in February, the die is already cast for what the state budget for 2016-17 will look like. So there's a question about how many of those 11,000 are in urgent need, but the number is large, and so money should be put aside in this budget to begin that transformation quickly, not put this aside for the 2017-2018 cycle.
And to be clear, what does urgent need mean to you?
Well, we have people that are in crisis. So the caregiver is elderly, a person in their 80s, for example, a parent in their 80s who has chronic diseases. The transformation panel that OPWDD has held some public hearings around the state. So it wasn't uncommon to hear a story of a parent who would get up and talk about, I'm in my 70s and I'm in my 80s. I've cared for my child at home with my spouse for my entire life. Now we have our own disabilities, whether it be heart disease or cancer. We can't rest until we know that our child will be well cared for. And it's not a circumstance where the parents pass and then the adult child simply can be shuttled off to the next place. People with developmental disabilities deserve to have some predictability in their life, to get to know the people they're going to live with, to find the right setting that fits for them. And it's a long process.
Is there a number, just because we're going to run out of time, so is there a number that you're looking for?
What we would like the state to do is to put 50% of the new development they do in the future towards people living at home. So if there's $50 or $100 million to be spent, at least half of that go for people living at home, and then the rest can be used for other purposes where they need to find a home.
And just to be clear, because of Olmsted, if I'm not mistaken, and the deinstitutionalization movement in the 70s, you got more people living at home than you did once upon a time.
Yeah, there's an estimate by a researcher from the University of Colorado that there are about 50,000 people in New York State with developmental disabilities living with their parents at home or a caregiver at home that are over the age, with the caregiver being age 60 or above.
Right, that's a lot.
I'd like to add that there's always been that commitment to help the individuals and their families with residential housing, and it also applies to someone who could be in their 20s, but caregiving is very demanding on a family, and that needs to be a priority as well.
Well, and just to sort of close this out, I mean, it is true that the executive puts together a budget now and unveils that budget in January, but also you do have sort of a second bite at the apple opportunity with the legislature to add more money in or take it away, which is, of course, not what we're hoping for you.
We're asking each of our parents to meet with their state legislatures at home in November with just that message. Let's see what we can get done in the executive budget. But if it doesn't happen in the executive budget, what can be done in the whatever funds are put on the table when the two chambers figure out how much money there is to spend?
Well, we are ramping up our talks about the budget, and obviously it'll be all budget all the time when January rolls around. I thank you so much, and hopefully we will speak with you again. Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Bringing our issue to